Most people don't think too much about food. They eat, they enjoy, they move on. But sometimes food does something different. Sometimes a single bite can slow you down. It can make you feel calm. It can make you feel safe. It can remind you of a place you've never been, or a moment you didn't know you missed. And that's where Filipino food quietly enters the story. You might not hear it shouting. You won't always see it trending. It doesn't beg for attention. But once you taste it, something strange happens. It feels familiar. It feels warm. It feels like home. Even if you've never been to the Philippines. Even if you didn't grow up with it. Even if you can't pronounce the names yet. So today, I want to ask you something simple. Why does Filipino food feel like home to the world? Not just to Filipinos. Not just to people with roots there, but to strangers, travelers, curious eaters, people searching for comfort in a loud, fast world. Stay with me, because this story isn't just about food. It's about people. It's about memory. It's about connection. And by the end of this video, you might understand why Filipino food doesn't just feed the body. It feeds something deeper. Imagine walking into a Filipino home. You don't need an invitation. You don't need to call ahead. You don't need to explain yourself. The door opens. Someone smiles. And the first thing they ask is not your name. It's, have you eaten? That question says everything. In Filipino culture, food is not a luxury. It's not decoration. It's not performance. Food is care. Food is how love is shown. Food is how worry is expressed. Food is how joy is shared. Food is how pain is softened. And that feeling doesn't disappear when Filipino food travels across the world. It carries that meaning with it. That's why people feel something when they eat it, even when they don't know why. Let's start with something simple. Rice. In many places, rice is just a side. In Filipino culture, rice is the center. Meals are built around it. Days are measured by it. Rice is there when times are good. Rice is there when times are hard. It's steady. It's humble. It doesn't try to impress. And that's the first reason Filipino food feels like home. It doesn't try too hard. It doesn't scream luxury. It doesn't chase trends. It doesn't care about being perfect. It just wants to be there for you. Think about adobo. It looks simple. Meat, soy sauce, vinegar, garlic. Nothing fancy. But inside that pot is history. Adobo was born from necessity, from preservation, from making food last, from learning how to survive in a tropical climate. Over time, it became something else. It became a comfort dish, a family dish, a dish that tastes slightly different in every home. It doesn't try too hard. It doesn't scream luxury. It doesn't chase trends. It doesn't care about being perfect. It just wants to be there for you. Think about adobo. It looks simple. Meat, soy sauce, vinegar, garlic. Nothing fancy. But inside that pot is history. Adobo was born from necessity, from preservation, from making food last, from learning how to survive in a tropical climate. Over time, it became something else. It became a comfort dish, a family dish, a dish that tastes slightly different in every home. No two adobos are the same. And that's the point, because home doesn't taste the same for everyone, but it always feels familiar. That's why people from other cultures connect to it. They taste adobo and think, this reminds me of something. Maybe it reminds them of stew, or slow cooking, or food left simmering while life happens in the background. Filipino food doesn't demand your full attention. It waits for you, and that patience is comforting. Now think about sinigang. Sour, warm, gentle. It's not loud. It doesn't overpower. It soothes. Sinigang is the kind of food you eat when you're tired, when you're sick, when you miss someone, when you need something soft. Around the world, every culture has a version of this. A soup, a broth, something warm and forgiving. That's why sinigang feels familiar to people who didn't grow up with it. Because it speaks a universal language. The language of care. Filipino food often sits in the middle, between sweet and salty, between sour and rich, between simple and complex. It doesn't push you to extremes. It invites you in slowly. And in a world that moves too fast, that matters. Now let's talk about sweetness. Filipino desserts are unapologetically sweet, sometimes very sweet. But that sweetness comes from joy, from celebration, from childhood, from fiestas, from moments meant to be remembered. Think of Halo Halo. It's not clean. It's not neat. It's not minimalist. It's messy. It's colorful. It's chaotic. And yet, it works. Because life is messy. Memory is layered. Joy is rarely simple. People around the world fall in love with Halo Halo not just because of the taste, but because of the feeling. It feels playful. It feels nostalgic. It feels like being allowed to enjoy something without rules. And that's another reason Filipino food feels like home. It doesn't judge you. You can eat with your hands. You can mix everything together. You can take seconds. You can eat late. You can eat early. No one tells you you're doing it wrong. Now let's talk about something deeper. Filipino food was shaped by struggle, colonization, war, poverty, migration. Ingredients were limited. Resources were scarce. People had to be creative. And creativity born from survival has a different kind of soul. Dishes were built to last, to stretch, to feed many with little. And when people eat Filipino food today, even without knowing the history, they feel that depth, they feel that care. Because food created from hardship often carries honesty. It doesn't pretend. It doesn't waste. It respects what it has. That's why Filipino food feels grounding. It reminds people of resilience, of families sticking together, of making something good even when times are hard. And that feeling is universal. Now think about Filipino street food. It's not polished. It's not fancy. It's eaten standing, walking, laughing. It's shared with friends, with strangers, with neighbors. Food is not separated from life. It happens in the middle of it. And when people from other countries experience Filipino street food, they don't just taste flavors. They feel community. They feel closeness. They feel openness. They feel included. That's rare. Now let's talk about why Filipino food is suddenly being noticed more around the world. It's not because it changed. It's because the world did. People are tired of perfection, tired of filters, tired of food that looks good but feels empty. They want food that feels real, food with stories, food with heart. And Filipino food has always been that. It just waited. It waited quietly, in family kitchens, in small restaurants, in homes filled with laughter and noise. And now, the world is ready to listen. Chefs are discovering it. Travelers are tasting it. Immigrants are sharing it. But what truly makes Filipino food feel like home is not the ingredients. It's the intention. Food is never cooked just for one person. It's cooked for sharing, for gathering, for togetherness. And when you eat Filipino food, even alone, you feel that intention. You feel like someone cared. That's powerful. Now think about Filipinos living abroad. They carry their food with them, in lunchboxes, in small restaurants, in weekend gatherings. Food becomes memory. Food becomes identity. Food becomes connection. And when non-Filipinos are invited to the table, they're not treated as outsiders. They're treated like family. Because Filipino food doesn't ask, "Where are you from?" It asks, "Are you hungry?" And in that moment, everyone is equal. That's why Filipino food feels like home to the world. Because home is not a place. It's a feeling. It's safety. It's warmth. It's being welcomed without conditions. Filipino food offers that quietly, consistently, without asking for attention. Now let me ask you something. Think about the last time food made you feel calm, not impressed, not excited, just at ease. That feeling is what people find in Filipino food. And once they feel it, they remember it. That's why they come back. That's why they search for it. That's why they talk about it. Not loudly, but sincerely. And that sincerity is what lasts. As Filipino food continues to spread across the world, it's not trying to compete. It's not trying to prove anything. It's simply being what it has always been, honest, warm, shared. And in a world that often feels disconnected, that's exactly what people are looking for. If this story made you think of food differently, if it reminded you of a place, a person, or a feeling, if it made you hungry not just for food, but for connection, then you already understand why Filipino food feels like home. If you enjoyed this kind of storytelling, take a moment to like this video. It helps more people discover stories like this. And if you want to keep exploring the deeper meaning behind cultures, food, and places, subscribe to the channel. There are many more stories waiting to be told. And just like Filipino food, they're meant to be shared.